Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. It is time for another lesson in adult coloring, the beginner's guide. So this is just when you start. As you can see, I have a ton of sharpeners. I have issues, people. I have issues. Um, so these are all different sharpeners that I have collected throughout the years. I have others as well. Um, some are on my desk, some are not. All right. So, yeah. The one thing I didn't touch on, because it is a bit of an extensive thing, the last video, was what sharpener should I use? A lot of people prefer the hand-turned sharpeners, such as this one, the Tagal. I like the Tagal. I like this one as well. Um, this one is quite expensive. It's a black wing. I would not suggest it for a beginner because, like I said, they are quite expensive. These ones here work, but I'm not extremely fond of them. They just have a little sharpener in it with a little case around it. This one's a Color-It, this one's Faber-Castell. They usually come in kits with a set of pencils, an eraser, that sort of thing. Same with all of these. They just come in the kits with the pencils. Some of them are really nice. Some are really heavy metal ones like this one. And they work really, really well. And some are just these plastic, little tiny plastic things. And they don't work as well. So, I personally don't like these. I don't use them. I do use this one every once in a while. I usually keep it in my to-go kit. But in a pinch, they'll work great. As something that keeps on my desk, they do not stay on my desk. The Tagal, I'll keep on my desk. The only problem I have with the Tagal is that while you're coloring, especially being a person that colors online, they jam up really quick because well, that was silly. Their capacity to hold the sharpenings is very small. And as you can see, I just dumped that into my bucket with all my sharpeners. Ah, I'll clean that up later. Um, so I'll clean that up later. The other one that is really nice that is a handheld sharpener is this one here. It's a Coombe, and it is a fantastic sharpener. This one here is done by M&R. So it has a short blade, so that just sharpens just the core. It has a really long blade, so if you really, really like those long sharp points, and it has a medium sharp point blade. So this one here has a lot of versatility. I have issues with handheld sharpeners. I have a bit of a tick in my hand, and I end up breaking cores while I'm sharpening. So I don't use a lot of handheld sharpeners. However, this one is one of the better ones, especially if you prefer handheld sharpeners. It does give you a lot of versatility on whether, you know, what kind of sharpening you want. I find this one here works the best with Prismacolors and those really soft wax pencils. Um, This one here will work better with those harder pencils like Faber-Castell and things like that. This one I don't think I've ever used because it actually does a really long sharp um, sharpen, and I just don't use that. So, and a great sharpener in itself. Again, I have issues with handheld sharpeners. I don't do well with them. I end up breaking things. So the next set of sharpeners is also a handheld set. Um, Sometimes you have to use a handheld sharpener because the pencils are either too big or an odd shape. So using a electric sharpener isn't possible. We'll get into these ones here, but for those odd shaped ones, this one here is fantastic. It has a large hole as well as a small hole. Um, it says graphite and color in the large hole, but I've colored or I've sharpened colored pencils in the graphite as well. If your pencil is thin enough to fit in the graphite, it works just fine. However, the color and graphite up here is a larger hole, so it will accept things like a Caran d'Ache, a square brute funer, things like that that are larger. So this is a Stedler, and I'm just trying to see if it says what number it is because they have different numbers. I'm not sure what one this one is, but you can find these on Amazon. Another one that I find works really well and does have a eraser on it is this one here. It's done by Mr. Pen. You can purchase these on Amazon as well. They have, I think, 4 in a set. And it also has the larger hole, which will work great for your square brute funers and those chunkier pencils, and a thinner hole for those smaller pencils. Um, I find that the chunky hole works really, really well for those square brutes and the triangular pencils like the Ergo Soft and the Tong Fu, things like that. This one's just really cute. My husband got me this one for Christmas. It came with some pencils and that sort of thing. The little sharpeners down here, and of course the top pops off to empty out the bin. So yeah, thank you and enjoy. I love it. It's just so cute. This one here is also one that my husband got me for Christmas. I don't use this one as much because, like I said, I get a tick in my hand. And basically what happens is I'll sharpen or be sharpening and I'll tick. And then next thing you know, my pencil is no longer working because it's broken. So now let's get into our electric sharpeners. As you can see, this one has plenty of different bits in it already because I do use this one. This is an electric sharpener. You put the pencil in, it pulls it down, sharpens it, and pushes it back up. This is a rechargeable electric sharpener. So you can plug it in, charge it up, or you can change the batteries in it. One of the better sharpeners I have in the electric sharpener that I use quite often. So it's a TaskBiz. You can also get them from, oh, fudge. I'm trying to think of the name. It'll come to me. There's another larger brand name that you can get for these as well. This one here is also a TaskBiz. The sharpener in this is a more of a helix, as you can probably see in there. This one is more of a lesser expensive type where you have the blade. This turns and turns the pencil in the blade. And I have a pencil stuck in there. This comes with spare blades. This does not. So you have the ability to change the blade out a lot easier than in this one. This one works quite well as well. However, the hole is quite small, so it's only going to accept a smaller pencil. This one here is a little bit larger, but it's still not going to accept those square brute funers or that sort of thing. I don't think. I don't use these for my brutes or anything like that. This one here is another one that I keep on my desk. Now I don't keep this one on my desk for the benefit of the sharpener. Now it comes with a sharpener, the eraser, and this is where you put the batteries. But one of the reasons why it stays on my desk, I don't like having to pop this lid off and on to get to the sharpener, first of all. Um, but one of the reasons why it stays on my desk is it's also a vacuum. So when you do have spills like this, it cleans them up. So just trying to find anything that I have spilled, and like that. And then you just turn it off. All of the spillage gets sucked up into here, and you can empty it out. So, and I just emptied some of it on my desk. So that's a great one to keep on your desk, especially to clean up any sort of pencil shaving mess. However, I don't recommend it for the sharpener part of it. The reason why I don't recommend it for the sharpener part of it is in order to empty your bin for the sharpening, you have to take this part off, and it's difficult to get off. I don't like it. So you have to pry that off and empty it out. And like I said, it is quite difficult to get on and off. So I do not recommend this one for the sharpener part of it. Now I can't get it back on. Why can't I get it back on? Yeah, there we go. So like I said, not one that I recommend for the sharpener. Now these ones here are all helix crank sharpeners. So the one that I do recommend is the Dial 133. I do use this quite often, as you can probably see. However, with age, it does get dull. So you do have to replace the sharpener. The price of these have gone up quite a bit. So it has a helix blade in it. And let's see if I can do this without making a complete mess. So the tray comes out. Eh, yeah, it's a bit full. It's going to make a mess. Well, it's a good thing I have a vacuum right there, right? All right, and then I don't know if you can see it in there. See, it has the helix blade. I'm going to move this around because I don't have a bin here for some reason. My bin disappeared. And we're just going to put this back in, and I'll show you how to work the sharpener. Like I said, this is one that I do recommend and I do use. I'm just going to clean up this mess so that I don't forget and then start trying to color on top of it. So the way that this works is you pull this out. So you push this button in. So you push this button in, pull this out. Now you can do that with or without your pencil in it. I do it without the pencil in it, and then I put the pencil in. I'm just going to find a pencil here. I'm just going to grab these. Let's see, I need a dull one. One that's fairly dull, this one. So this one is fairly dull. You put it in here. There's a little dial on the back where you can go dull, sharp, or sharpen. I turn it all the way over to sharpen, and then I crank it. Once it stops turning or stops feeling like there's anything to turn, your pencil is sharp. And it does work very, very well. I've had mine for about 3 years, and it's still working fine. However, I do know some people who have had theirs for 3 or 4 years, and it stopped working. Well, it didn't completely stop working. It doesn't work all the time. So they have had to replace it. But 4 years out of a sharpener is a pretty good lifetime. Another one that I use and keep on my desk and I highly recommend is the Deli. It is also a crank sharpener. This one I just love. It resembles a small camera and it works the same way. You pull this out, you put your pencil in, you crank the sharpener. So you push the take a picture button and you pull it out and then you put your pencil in. Now I'm going to grab another dolly. This one's a dolly. Oy. And we're going to put that in just like that. And you turn the crank until it stops giving you that bite. And again, a really good sharp. This one I've only had for about 2 years and it works perfectly every time. I've never had an issue with that sharpener unless it gets full, and it can get really full before you have this problem. But once it gets really full, and sometimes I let it get too full, and it will stop working. So as you can see, the sharpen's going down into the bottom there. However, when it's really, really full, it will fill all the way up around your helix, which is an issue. So be careful of that. Keep an eye on the little window. Don't be a me and ignore it because it will literally go all the way up around. It does not damage the helix. However, it will keep the helix from being able to turn properly, which can damage your pencils. So make sure you keep your sharpener, unlike mine, a little more empty. This one here is the same. It's a helix sharpener. However, this one, I've got another dolly here. This one here is one that I travel with. This is my travel sharpener and one that I keep on my desk for grabbing if these two decide that they're going to have issues that day. So this one here, you don't even have to pull out the thing. This one is about $5 on Amazon, where these two are a little bit more expensive. They're in the $20 range. You push the pencil in, you turn the handle until it stops turning or stops having a bite, and then you turn the sharpener, the handle the other way, and it will push the pencil out for you. And as you can see, a wonderful sharp point. So that one works fantastic as well. Now I've got one more shorty here, and we're going to show you this one. This one is just adorable. I love this sharpener. This one here I've had for about, a friend of mine sent it to me about 2 years ago, and I've never had an issue with this sharpener. The only issue I do have with this sharpener is, once again, my own fault. I don't empty them enough. So that's on me. This one here I just got, and I got it because it's absolutely adorable. It's a little car. The little wheels even work. It goes. It's just so cute. It has the dial on the back. It is also a helix sharpener, so it's a crank sharpener. It turns the crank. Now this one is the same as the little blue one. You put that in, you turn your crank, and then you turn it the other way to spit the pencil out. And it is uber sharp, like really sharp. Um, the pencil sharpener itself, like I said, is brand new. So the blade in the sharpener is going to have a sharper cut on it, and it'll be a cleaner sharpen. So the ones that I highly recommend, especially for new colorists, are the Doll 133 is one that I would recommend. This one here for travel purposes, I would also recommend. This one here is one of my favorites, and if you can find it on Amazon, I actually prefer this one over the doll. It's a little bit slimmer, and it just never has stopped working on me unless I get a pencil jammed in it or unless I forget to empty it and make a mess. But those are on me. That has nothing to do with the sharpener. This one here is really uber cute. However, it is a bit chunky, and trying to keep this on your desk, especially if you have space constraints, not the best one for desk space. Now for electric sharpeners, if you can't use a crank sharpener, because sometimes my hands will cramp up and I can't use these. The one I do recommend is this one here, which is the Task Biz. And you can just put your pencil in. Let's see if I have another dolly. I don't know if this is charged up, but we'll try. And basically you put your pencil in, it sharpens it, spits it out. Now the one thing about the sharpeners, when you're using a softer pencil such as the Prismacolor, I have been told, and I have checked it myself, the electric sharpener does seem to firm up. It doesn't take away the smushiness of the pencil, but it does firm up the core of a Prismacolor and those softer pencils. I'm not sure why that is, whether it's the heat from the electricity or what, but it does actually work. So if you're like me and have issues with the Prismacolor cores being too soft and breaking a lot and that sort of thing, use an electric sharpener with them. It does help. So this is the one, if you need to use an electric sharpener, that I recommend. There is another company that creates one exactly like this. So anything in this configuration with the Helix blade, one that pulls it down and spits it out and does a stop sharpen and has a control on which sharpness that you want it to be. All right, so that is it for sharpeners. So we're going to keep the deli on my desk. The rest of them we're going to move away, and we are going to start coloring today. Because it is Valentine's Day, we will be coloring something that is Valentine's Day-esque. It's not exactly, hearts and that sort of thing, but it is floral. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have anything on my desk here. So this is the setup that you're going to do from the start of your day. So if you are coloring a picture for the first time, this is what I do when setting up my desk to get started. I'm just going to do that. So first of all, I choose my pencils. The pencils we're going to be using today is the Coloria. So I pull my color chart for the Coloria. The reason why I'm choosing the Coloria is because it is one of the least expensive, better grade pencils I have that are currently available on Amazon. I do have other ones that are about the same price, but I do find the Coloria have a really good grade of color, and even though it's a smaller set, a very good selection of color as well. So we're going to use the Coloria, and I'm going to talk to you about the swatch chart. So if you have, one of the things that I told you last time is one of the first things that you need to do when you get a new set of pencils is do the swatch. The reason for the swatch tells you three different things. Color of each pencil, so they're easy to select. The amount of color per color family, and whether or not there's enough colors in there for you. My color charts, I put these areas at the bottom for a reason, not just to make it pretty. The reason for the pictures at the bottom of my color charts is so that I can test how well those colors blend, how well I'm going to get one or two or three colors together and create a gradients or create a level of depth in each picture. So as you can see, these ones did quite well. Another thing that I do is I test my pencils. If you've watched any of my swatching videos, any of my new pencil videos, you will see me testing these pencils. I have actually created a template now that I'm going to start using for the oh, what is it called? For the testing. Oh my goodness. So water resistance, they failed. They are not water resistant. So if you are using these, make sure that you put something over top of them if you're going to use a wet medium on top of them. We will get further into that sort of information a little bit later on after we actually touch pencil to paper. Smudge resistance. They did fail the smudge resistance as well. So this is something I need to know before I start coloring because they failed the smudge resistance with my hand. I have to be careful going over the picture after I've colored an area because I rest my hand on the page and when I'm coloring it moves, which will move that pencil from underneath my hand. Did a great gradient blend, did a rainbow blend. This is blended with white and this is blended with a blender. Again, like I said, the pencils are about $16, which works out to be approximately 22 cents per pencil, and it comes with their own case. So I would definitely say that they are a very budget-friendly pencil, and they have a wonderful selection of colors. So that's the pencils we've chosen for the coloring of, and I will probably use these throughout the lessons because they are budget friendly, they are still available. So the numbers that I have are going to match the numbers that are available now. One of the things you will learn as you go along, if you begin to collect pencils like I do, you will find that pencils change over time. So when somebody says Brute 86, your pencil may be a different color than the person that is coloring on screen or with you if their pencils are older. So be careful of that. Um, so yeah, those are the pencils. This is the swatch chart, and this is the page that we're going to be coloring. So I chose this one because it's very Valentine-esque. It's got a wonderful selection of roses, a little card, and our wonderful little mousie. Now, just going to touch a little bit on the other thing that you can have on your desk if you need it. If you find that you don't need it, then don't worry about using it. It is not mandatory. Some people have problems choosing colors. One of the things that I do recommend if you do have issues choosing colors, if you do not have issues choosing colors, don't worry about this part. Um, but I do have a lot of people ask me, how do you choose your colors? And now I don't use this. But when I first started my journey, I did use this a lot. And the reason why I used it a lot is because I didn't know what colors went with other colors, or I would start using the basic colors that I knew went with those colors, but finding the other colors that still go with it and don't make it look off balance was difficult for me. So one of the things that I was told by my mom was get a color wheel. This one here, which is the Atomus, tells you here your color schemes, your complementary colors, your split complementary triad. We're not going to get into any of that sort of information. Um, you can definitely look this up and read it on the color wheel if you purchase this color wheel. And a lot of color wheels have this information on it. This one goes a little bit more in depth with that color theory, color information. Now, the one thing that I follow when I'm using a color wheel is the triad. So the reason why I use the triad is it gives me all the information I need for 3 different colors to blend together that um, in that page. So if I'm using, let's say I'm using a lot of yellow. Well, we're going to be doing this page, which we're going to be using a lot of red. So I'm going to use red because the roses are going to be red. So the complementary color to red, of course, is green. However, the split complementary or the triad colors are blue and yellow. So everything from here to here are complementary colors to red. So you have all the colors of red that you can utilize, all the colors of the warm yellow, which is yellow with a little bit of green, all the green yellow, which is green with a little bit of yellow. No, yellow with a little bit of green. So this one here has um, shades of gray in it. So this is just straight yellow, and then you've got your shades of gray. You've got your green yellow, which is yellow with a bit with green in it, or vice versa. I don't know why they've got green yellow here and then yellow green here. Okay, so green yellow is the yellow with a little bit of green. Yellow green is green with a little bit of yellow. Brain work. Same with here. You've got your blue, your green blue, and your blue green. Basically what that means is they've taken these two colors and mixed them together here and here. One more here, one more here, so that they have that buildup of colors together. So your complementary colors to your red are yellow, your greens, and your blues. So that's basically how you utilize that. You can also go to this side here and you can go, especially if you want to go more pastel-y, and you can go with your pastel colors here, which is the same as the other side. However, it this gives the tints, this gives the tones. So the difference between tint and tone is tone has more blacks in it and more shadow colors. Tint has more white or grays, which gives them more of a highlight color. All right, so that's as far as I'm going with color theory ever. I'm just saying, I do not know color theory beyond what is on that chart. That's it. I am not an art instructor. I am not an art student. I've never done art in school. This is just me coloring. What I have learned as my journey progressed, I'm happy to pass on. However, know that I am not an art instructor. I am not going to go into the fancy dancy, artsy fartsy lingo beyond what I just explained to you on that chart. I do, I have picked up quite a bit of some of the lingo, but I'm not going to go into color theory. I'm not going to go into any of that in-depth um, dissection of the art because I just can't. I'm just, I am not qualified. All right, so we're going to actually put pencil to paper. We're going to zoom in on our little friend here. Now we're going to go through a very basic, very elementary um, process that you probably learned in grammar school. If you did not learn this in grammar school, um, you will be surprised. Okay, so we're going to start with our reds. So we're going to start with 567, which is this one here, which is raspberry. And we're going to match that with a tone shader, a tone lighter, which is 628. And, as soon as I can find it. Obviously, I did not put my pencils away properly. No, it's because I'm on the wrong page. We're not going to say that out loud. 633. I want this one. And this one is rose red. Imagine that. Now we're only going to do a 2-color blend on this just because I don't want you to be overwhelmed with color choices. So we've got rose red and we've got raspberry. So what we're going to start off with is the rose red, and we're just going to do a very light. Now I'm not worried about lines or anything else. We're just doing a very base coat on the flower here. And this will be your first moment of ooh with your pencils other than your swatch, because this is on coloring book paper. It will tell you whether or not your pencils work well on the paper. If you get a very smooth movement of your pencil and it's not jittery and you're not getting what looks like clumps of color, like you're coloring with a Crayola crayon, um, then you are using the right pencil for that page. I do find that some, especially ones that are high in soft wax content, do clump up a little bit, especially after layering a few layers. Now, we're not going to put a ton of layers on this because of the fact that, I don't want the video to be 6 hours long. But I do want to give you um, the first level, the first, what's the word I'm looking for? The first tip that I ever received as a child coloring colored pictures was something that I was told when I was about 6 years old, 7 years old by my mom, and then reaffirmed by, the schools and that sort of thing because, in primary school you still have to you have to do your art classes and that sort of thing, coloring classes and, you know, basic color information of the primary colors and that sort of thing. How to mix colors, that sort of thing. So one of the things that I learned, and as you can see, just with that one layer of red on there, it looks very flat. So what I was told growing up, and what you were probably told growing up, is to outline the areas with a darker pencil. And you'll see where I'm going with this shortly. Now I'm not going to do a heavy line or I'm going to do a thicker line than is on the page. So basically we're just extending the black line a little bit with that darker color. And I'm just going to turn the page as I go because I know these pencils are smudgy. So what that means is that I know that my hand is going to move that color. So if I put my hand right on top of that and start moving my hand, putting the color down, I am going to smudge that. Now, another tip that I will give you is how to move your pencil to get full coverage. There's different ways of doing it. I always move in small circles unless I'm outlining. If I'm outlining and it's a straight line, I'll go in a straight line. However, if I'm coming through and filling in an area, I will do swirls. Little tiny circles. This is going to take a few moments. So. And once I finish this, you will see a bit of a transformation, and then we're going to transform it even further. And then once it's finished, you'll see the depth of the rose. And this is a very simple technique, a very simple revelation that will put you back a little bit to your school days. And we're going to have homework. Just saying. All right. I'm almost done here. And I am going over and into all the lines. I'm following every single line. On both sides of the line when they're crossing over. I missed one. You can definitely tell when you miss one. Now, Morgan O'Brien, who is the artist for this book, has not put a lot of detail in where the light source is coming from. So we're going to have to put that detail in ourselves. And when there isn't a source of light um, evident in the page, so what I mean by that is when there is no source of light like a sun, a moon, a lantern, a candle, a light bulb, um, one of my rules of thumb that I follow when I color, this is not the rule of thumb that you have to follow. This is just one of my rules of thumb, is I become the light source. So when I'm looking straight down at the picture, that's where that light source is going to be. Now we've outlined the page or the picture, and as you can see, it's a little bit more vibrant. You can see those details a little bit more. Now we're going to extend. So your first step is to base the flower with the rose red, which is a lighter red. Then we're going to take a darker red, which is raspberry, and we're going to go around all the lines. We're going to outline the entire area. Do not miss any of the areas. Try to make sure that you get into every single one of those areas. Now the next step is going to enhance it even more. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that line and we're going to create a shadow for our light source. Now our light source is coming straight down at our page. So the shadow is going to be where those petals overlap. So where the petal is going to create a shadow is going to be our shadow space. And all we're doing is little circles, extending that color out that we just laid down in that line. And as you go along in your journey, you will find that you no longer need to put that line down. And you can just see where those shadows go on their own. But this is a great way to start learning where to put those shadows and giving your page a look of depth. Sometimes going right back to the very basics, the very start of when we started to color, which was in elementary school. It was when we were children. Sometimes going back to that basic level gives us a little more insight into what we enjoy now and reminds us of why we enjoy it. So I don't mind going back and starting over and starting, just where I started from in the first place. So I'm just going through everywhere that these petals are going to overlap on the petal in front of it. And I'm extending those out. Now this here has a petal curl right there, which tells me this area here is going to be curled in and this area here is going to be curled in. So we're just going to extend that a little bit. You can see that there's a bit of a V there. So we're just going to come down into that V and extend it a little bit. Same with here. There's a little bit of a V there. So we're just going to extend it a little bit. We've got shadow here and a curl there. So we're going to extend that curl a little bit as well. And basically all we're doing is we're just adding the shadows. We're putting in those shadow areas, we're putting in those curls that a petal is going to have. Now we've got a curl here, so we know there's a shadow underneath it. This is the next petal, so we know we've got a shadow coming up here because this is where it curls in. We know we've got a shadow under here because this is where that petal comes over top. And that's the thing about putting this line is it shows you where all the edges and all the curls of the petal are. You can't see them too much with just the base. But once you start adding that dark line, you will start, or dark color, I should say, uh, in the line that you're going to outline the petals with, you're going to start seeing more of where those shadows are going to be. And I missed down here. And I missed this part here with the line. So if you do miss a spot, just go through, put in your line, and just extend it out. Just extend it up a little bit and extend it out here and out here. Okay, like so. And there we have our shadows on our rose. Now we're going to go back over it with the rose red with a little bit more pressure and a little bit more of the circular motion, covering and coating, coming off of that shadow, going over top of it, blending that shadow in with our colored pencil. Now I am leaving an area uncolored. It just has the base on it. Like I said, we're only going to work with 2 pencils today. So what I'm leaving behind is going to be our highlight line. As I get closer to the highlight line, I lift my pencil and I do a lighter layer. If you are heavy-handed, practice lifting your pencil. If you need to color really lightly and you're heavy-handed and can't lift your pencil, slide your pencil all the way back so that you're not putting as much pressure on the tip of the pencil. This will enable you to have a lighter hand without losing control of the pencil. If you have the ability to lift your hand and put less of your pressure on your pencil, um, then do so. But if you do have issues, just slide your hand all the way back to where your pencil is still balanced on your hand, but you're not putting that pressure down here at the tip of your pencil. Again, going to come through here. I can do it both ways, so I'm not too concerned on what my hands are doing, but I'm going to do it this way just to show you what I mean. So we're still putting that layer and enhancing that shadow, but when we come into these areas here, it's not putting as much color down. Now when I want to be down here, I just shift my hand down a little bit more and put a little bit more pressure on the pencil. Now because I've got a shadow line there, I want that color there and that depth there. Same with here. We've got a shadow line here, so we want that depth. The next week, what we will go through is I will have colored at least all of the roses. So your homework is to color the roses themselves, and then I will also do the background, like the under part. This is all going to be grass back here, so we'll do that as well. Um, I will do a basic lesson on doing the mouse, because I'm not going to get too in depth into how to do fur exactly lifelike um, on this type of picture, because it's just not as detailed as you would need it to be to do a lifelike rendition of a rodent. People do it, people can do it. I am not one of those people that do that very well. So I'll show you how I do it. If you are one of those people that can do it really well, you're fantastic, because I strive to get to that point. Like I said, this is not the end of the journey. This is, the journey will never end. So this is what I've learned so far in my coloring journey. Like I said, I am not an art teacher. I am not a professional artist. Um, this is my hobby. So this is what I have learned along the way. This is not um, rule of thumb for everybody. Not everybody colors the same. If you find that what I'm doing and what I'm showing doesn't work for you, uh, that's wonderful. Find what works for you. It will not hurt my feelings, I promise. You know, um, take what you can from my journey and add it to your own. Or if you're just starting your journey out, you can take what I've learned in my journey, add it to your journey, and pick and choose what works for you. This is your journey. This is not my journey. This is not anybody else's journey. This is your journey. Do what works for you. I will show you what works for me, but this is not um, this is not you know me telling you that you have to do it this way. Um, you don't. Just plain and simple, you don't. You do everything your own way and utilize and transform anything that works for you out of what worked for me to yourself. But by no means whatsoever do you have to do exactly what I'm doing, or do you have to implement anything that I've shown you into your journey. So we're almost done with this rose, and we've done this with two colors. So we've added two different colors, raspberry and rose red. Those are the only two colors that we have used on this rose. And as you can see, the depth is there. We have the shadows. Now I'm going to come back through with the raspberry a little bit, just to enhance those shadows just a little bit more in areas that I think have lost a little bit of that color with the rose red. But I'm not going any further than what I had in the first place. I'm using a much lighter hand than I did in the first place. And just reestablishing a little bit of that darker color to put in a little bit more shadow area. And I'm just going to come through here and very lightly do that. Same within here, just very lightly come in and separate that line a bit. Like so. So we're going to do one more. So I'm going to do a bud. So I'll do this bud here and I'll do the background and then we will be done for today. Again, your homework is to get the roses colored. At least the roses colored. You could color the whole page if you chose to or choose to. Because I am coloring very lightly, I don't have a page behind here, but I do suggest that if you are a heavy-handed individual, I do suggest that you take a heavy piece of cardstock, whether it be a, um, I've lost it. I had a whole stack of it. There it is. Whether it be like a 110 heavy cardstock or even just a Nina, just regular paper, that sort of thing. I prefer the 110, which is just a heavy white cardstock because it does give a little bit of stability behind your page. So if you are heavy-handed, you're not going to transfer this picture onto the back of this picture. Just saying. Also, this is another thing that I will recommend if you're going to be using um, things such as alcohol markers. You're going to want to have that heavy cardstock behind your page to catch that marker. Make sure it doesn't bleed through to your other page. And we'll get further into that sort of thing when we start touching on markers much, much later down the road. Right now I'm just going to continue working with colored pencils. Now for this one, we're still going to do our outline, but we're actually going to do the shadow as we outline. So go around, do the outline, and then just bring it forward with a lighter hand. Bring it forward. Now you don't have to do the shadowing part at the same time if you don't feel comfortable doing that. If you feel more comfortable going around and doing the outline first, seeing where that outline lays, and then putting the shadow in, then feel comfortable doing that and absolutely do that first. If you feel comfortable with the fact that you're the light source, so the highlights are going to be in the light source. The shadow from the petals and the curvature of the flower are going to be in the shadow area. Now I'm going to point out a few things on this bud. I'm just going to outline it and then I'm going to point out a few things. So as you know, rosebuds are round. Flowers, the buds are round. So you know there's a curvature to the sides of these roses as well as to the back of this area here where the rose is starting to open. You've got leaves here, but they're away. So they're not closed in, they're away. So they're not going to give you as much of a shadow on the flower. However, the flower is going to give you shadow onto the greenery. So remember that when you're doing your greenery. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend that curve and create that line from the edge here in. And as we get closer to the center on this bottom area, we're going to not put as much color there. So as here our highlights are curved, here our highlight is going to be curved this way. It's not going to be up here at the top because we're looking at this part here. So the highlight is going to be on the exposed areas to your face. So if, let's say, this area here, the only part that's exposed is this area on this side. So this area we're going to have more shadow on. The curve, the back side of this rose, is not in your direct vision. So that means that that's going to have a shadow because it's not in your light beam. You are the light, be the light. So again, put the line around. We've extended that out for the curvature of that as well as the curvature of the petals going inwards. This one is going to have more of a shadow because we've also got the shadow of this petal overlapping. Now it's not going to be an extremely deep overlap, but it is going to be deeper than this side here. All right, so that's our shadowing with our raspberry. Now we're going to come in with our regular rose red. We're going to go over that shadowed area, darkening it up a little bit, and lightening our hand as we get into our highlight. Don't worry about the white spot. We will talk about white spot and that sort of thing later on. But as you can see, it gives you the highlight as well as the shadow area for that smaller rosebud. So for the background, which is the greenery, we will do that next time. We've already been an hour, so I am going to leave it at that for now. Your homework for this week is to color all of the roses. When I come back, I will have all of the roses done, and then we will work on the greenery as well as the ground area. And if we have time, we will work on a matchstick as well as his gift tag. I would like to get this done in 2 lessons, hopefully. And like I said, we will work on homework. So you will have homework in this class. So just saying. So go through and fill in all your roses. You only need 2 colors. If you decide to do other colors on your roses, follow the same rule. Um, Take a lighter color for your base, so that do all of the basic coating on the flower with the lighter color. Take a darker color and do your outlining. Bring that outline in to give you your shadow. Bring your lighter color to blend together to give you your depth. All right, guys, so that is our lesson for today, how to take something that we learned as children, just the basics of outlining a page or outlining an image or outlining, following the lines on an image to give you your placement for your shadows as well as the depth for your picture. Again, this is done with only 2 pencils. We will go through and add more pencils later on as we go further into depth with the journey. So literally, this is where I started. This is when I learned that everything has a dimension and not all pictures are flat. All right, guys, with that, do your homework. I will see you next time. Of course, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye bye for now.